All right, another episode of Conversate After Dark. Tay, what's up with you?
Everything's great with me. What's going on with you?
It's all good. It's all good. Tell people where they can find us.
You can find us at Conversates After Dark everywhere. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or you have a topic you want us to cover, you can reach us at CVAD the podcast at gmail.com.
That's right. Go to our website, www.conversateafterdark.com. Tell a friend about the show. Tay, let's kick it off with the icebreaker.
All right, I'm gonna let you choose.
Sexy 69.
Okay. If you could only use one move to turn on your significant other, what would it be?
Mm. I find that kissing on the neck, generally speaking, um, gets the gets the juices flowing. So I would probably, stick with that. But I would say that as a spot on the neck that people sleep on, a lot of people go like to the front or like to the side or what have you, because that's central spots, but like the back, like the nape of the neck, like if you like, standing behind there or whatever, that area right there, that's even that right there. A lot of people sleep on that right there. Yeah. So I would say kissing on the neck.
Okay. Okay. Um, I don't know. Generally it's not hard to get men turned on.
Head. Head.
But yeah, I mean, but you gotta I don't say you have to work up to that, but yeah, you kind of have to work up to that. But you know what? This is a move guys use, but I've used it myself. A good massage. It can always lead to a happy ending.
You know,
And it doesn't have to be like something in depth, like, removing all the clothes, a full body thing. You can start off light, massaging the arms, running your fingers up and down the arms, massaging the chest, the shoulders, stuff like that.
you're right about that. Because yeah, what I was about to say was, um, hear me out to the finish, okay? Most massages from women, if you're going for if you're going for the therapy, right? Like if you're going to like a massage parlor or I guess that's what they call them, a place where they do massages. I don't know if massage parlors are like the spots that do the happy endings, but you know what I mean. If you go to a massage therapist facility,
Right.
I have found that if you're going for therapeutic benefits and you are a bigger dude like me, most of the time, unless she has like really strong hands, like big hands for a woman, you don't really get the therapeutic value out of it. So a lot of guys don't do this, but for me, I prefer to have a dude. If I need to get a massage, I have a dude massage me. Now, I know a lot of people are like, nah, shit, you got your clothes off and the dude is rubbing on you. Like, no, if I go for a massage, I'm going because I need to get, some kinks worked out, or whatever. It's more therapeutic. And guess what?
What?
I'm not attracted to men. So a dude could touch me, all day and I'm not gonna get hard. Nothing's gonna happen. So for me, I'm secure in that. So it's cool. But back to what you were saying, those delicate touches from a woman, like her rubbing your head, kind of just rubbing your arms, kind of just, soothing you or whatever. Number one, you might put me to fucking sleep. So you better not do it too much. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna feel real calm and relaxed. But if you start to get a little bit more sensual with the touch, yeah, that'll get it right. That'll get it right.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see how on a normal basis a woman's massage, just with our strength and everything, the differences between the two. I could see that that being difficult. You know how I actually used to learned how to give a proper massage. And how I did that was my very first boyfriend. He was a student athlete. So,
Oh, yeah.
he always needed,
Right.
so I
Yeah.
learned how to massage just so I could help him out.
Because there's a difference. There's a proper pressure and everything. Like there's a difference. Now, if you go in there on some old what's our boy that played for the Deshaun Watson,
Oh,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? And you try to get it, happy ending every time, allegedly. Yeah, it's not gonna be good for you. But if you go in there for a therapeutic value, then yeah, you might need to, adjust who you want giving you a massage. But the other thing we kind of talked about head. I ain't gonna lie to you. I want it hard first before you suck on it. You know what I'm saying? Something about your meat being flaccid in her mouth is just kind
Mhm.
of like, hold on a minute, let me jack it off.
Really? I don't know, I've always gotten the impression because I actually like bringing it from soft to hard while it's,
A
doing my
lot of
thing.
women say that. They say like I like feeling it get hard in my mouth, but like I don't know, man. Sucking it while it's soft. Let me get it hard a little bit first. Let us know in the chat. You want it hard first, or can you suck it soft? So let's see what they got to say in the chat. Um, Jamila says that'll do it. I so she's talking about me kissing the back of the neck. Danielle said that touch massage can definitely get things going. Yes, indeed. Janine said, I do the little pet kisses all over. Let them guess where I'm going next. Get them every time.
Yeah.
I'll do it. That'll, that'll do it. That'll do it for sure, for sure. All right, so Tay, I
Yes.
saw something on social media today, and it was this woman who had wrote into a podcast, and she was asking, "Am I the asshole?" So basically, I'm gonna keep it short. Basically, she was married to a guy who wanted her to be a stay at home wife. They did not have children. He made a significant amount of money. Then the situation changed, and he got hurt at work. So she went back. So she went to work to help the family out. So, but then he became well again, but he wasn't making the same amount of money. So he was working two jobs, driving Uber to maintain their lifestyle. And the whole time she had been stashing money away for what she called an escape fund. Now, the reason why she was doing this was because her mother told her, you need to be putting money aside for a rainy day in case, your marriage doesn't work out. And the husband found out about it, obviously had an adverse reaction, moved out and left. And, we don't know how it resolves, but clearly they have some problems, right? Because she was putting money aside and he didn't know about it and he felt betrayed. We could talk about that, but I think the bigger point that I want to talk about is how often, because I talked about it in the past, how like, sometimes men, we receive bad advice from older men when it comes like to sex and everything, or just not good advice at all. Um, how often are toxic behaviors or things that I would say would sabotage a marriage? How often is that being told from older women to younger women? And have you seen it?
I've definitely seen it. How often I can't say how often, but I think it's because a lot of times when people give their advice, they're usually coming from things that they've gone through or things that, other people have gone through. So a lot of times if the advice is toxic, that's because they have some kind of trauma in their background or they witnessed some kind of trauma that, kind of taught them a lesson, whether it was bad or good.
Yeah. And I get it. I mean, because I hate the term because I think it's a relevant term, but I think often it's used to vilify black men. But when we talk about patriarchy and we talk about the control that our grandfathers, great grandfathers had over our great grandmothers, grandmothers with money, and you could have been put in a position where okay, I haven't been working, I've been at home with the kids. All of a sudden, he decides he don't want me no more. I don't have any work experience. I don't have anything to survive on. So, and he decided to leave, go with a woman across town, and now I'm asked out. So I get where it comes from and where that advice comes from, but I believe that we have moved past that sort of trauma. Yes, it can still happen, but I think that the playing field is more level when it comes to black men and black women. I don't have statistics to back it up, but you often hear about black women making more money and being more educated than black men. So I don't think that, you know, those situations, those rules should apply. And but I don't, how do you tell somebody, hey, listen, your mom or your auntie is giving you bad advice? Because that may be extreme,
Mhm.
but I know women who, hey, listen, auntie or mom is saying, I wouldn't allow him to do that, or girl, you should do this, or they put those little seeds into their head, and a lot of it is, I personally think, because they don't they don't want to see their daughter or their niece happy. So there's a bit of sabotage that goes with that.
Um, I don't know if it's that they don't want them to be happy. I think most of the time, now there may be some who maybe from a jealous place don't want that person to be happy, but I think a lot of times it comes from them thinking they're looking out for their daughter, niece, granddaughter, what have you. Just like in that situation, the woman being a housewife. Um, the reason why that advice to put money aside has gone down is because years and years ago, when women were housewives or didn't have control, they weren't able to have their own credit cards, their own bank accounts, or anything. And if the husband wanted to divorce them, they were just assed out,
Mhm.
So in a way, like I said, in a way, it's them looking out, not necessarily not wanting them to be, you know, it not wanting them to come out good or whatever. Um, but like you said, I do agree that in this day and age, it it may not be needed, but I guess it's a for a case by case issue because if like in this case, the woman was a housewife. I think she should have told him. I'm not big on secrets within relationships.
Yeah.
So maybe she should have told him,
Mhm.
but you never know.
I think at the end of the day, I'm sorry to cut you off. I think
Oh,
at the end of the day, deception is never good.
right.
And I can't stand lies, but lies of omission really piss me off,
Hmm.
because there's an extra level of manipulation that comes with lies of omission. And when people say, "Well, I didn't lie to you," well, yeah, but you didn't tell me the whole story. You
Right.
didn't, you really kind of manipulated me with your actions. And if you knew that what you were doing wasn't 100% okay, or there was a possibility that it wouldn't be okay with me, or you would have just been upfront and honest about what you were doing. Because in this situation, why wouldn't you just voice your concern as a woman? Hey, listen, you have me as a stay-at-home mom. What protection do I have if this doesn't work out? Now he may say, "Oh well, I always got you. I always take care of you." Yeah, and things change. Divorce is nasty. It's
Right.
even the best of divorces are nasty. So maybe she should have said, "Well, I don't really 100% feel like I shouldn't work it out. Maybe I'd have a part-time job and I can keep that money for myself. But to take money from him that he's working on, and he's damn near killing himself, that just don't sit right with me." And to your point, I know it's hard for you to say because we only have the experiences that we live through, but I definitely have seen um women who I've dated or have been with, and you could tell that the women in their life, some of them, I'm not gonna say it's all of them, because I've seen plenty of women talk to their daughters and be like, "Hey, listen, you need to do better. Don't talk to him that way. You need to be a better woman. Don't make the mistakes that we made." I've definitely seen that. So I'm not going to generalize in the negative, but I've seen women who try to sabotage. And I think not just because they don't want to see that relationship work, they don't want to lose their daughter or their niece.
Hmm.
Saying like, okay, you got a man, he may move you across country, and all of a sudden I can't see you, I can't see my grandkids. So I'm gonna put little seeds of doubt. I'm gonna meddle in y'all's relationship to cause a little friction just so I can keep my claws into you. I've seen that happen several times.
Yeah, I can see that happen. The same in reverse, like with a man who may be a mama's boy. The mother doesn't want to let go of that string attached to him, so she does stuff to sabotage the relationship. So, what do you think may be the solution to try to get a woman out of that situation or out of that mind frame if that has been the advice that she's been given?
I think, man, honestly, you don't know what you don't know. And
Hmm.
I'm able to talk about this from a wiser position now that I'm 47. But when I was in my 20s and I was getting married, or dating women who prospecting to get married, had I known then, hey, listen, you have a mother wound that you need to address. We need to go to therapy and figure out, okay, how are you going to address this relationship that you have with your mom or your dad or whoever, your family in general, because down the road it's going to impact us. I'm real big on when I'm in a relationship, if we serious, especially if you're my wife, it's us number one against the world. That means me and you before the kids, me and you before your mama, me and you before everybody. It is us, and everything we do is for the betterment of us together.
Right.
Now, and if we are solid, then everything else will be okay, right?
Right.
But when you start letting other people like have their opinions and you have say so in your relationship, coming from a male perspective, that'll piss me off. If you come to me talking about what my daddy said or my uncle said this, man, motherfucker, you and your daddy and your uncle. Because the reality is this: if I'm the man of the family, if we are broke, if we are living under a bridge, if we on food stamps or whatever, they're not gonna look at you as a woman and be like, damn, she ain't doing her job. They're gonna look at me as a man and say, I ain't shit. So with that being said, whatever I say, it goes. Now we're a team 98% of the time. What do you want to do, baby? And we can and I'm gonna try to make that happen. But final say so, I got it. And that's part of being a man's man. A lot of people may not agree with that, but that's just where I come from.
No, I agree with you. Thankfully, I have a mother and had a father who were, didn't really get involved in my relationships. My father especially was one. It's my decision. If I make the decision to be with a fool, that's that's my bad decision. I mean, he would be there to give advice if I asked for it, but
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, he'd be like, "You got to work it out."
Yeah, yeah. Let's see what they got to say in the chat. Sandy said, I don't listen much relationship advice these days. Older women unfortunately give advice from a place of anger, especially if they are single. Yeah, that's kind of what you said, Tay. TJ agreed with Sandy. Danielle said, I listen, but don't. I have my own mind and will do what I want. Sandy said, I lost it. Hold on. Plenty of older women are super jealous of how these young women move today. You think that's true, Tay? You think because women today maybe are afforded more opportunities to be successful and to thrive, that older women are somewhat jealous?
I think that can happen. I don't see it a lot, so I can't speak to it from that, but I can it wouldn't surprise me if it happens.
Okay. TJ said, I'm with you on that one, Marv. It's outright manipulation. I think she's talking about me talking about lies of omission. Danielle said, the scenario is still happening. I know someone now who has nothing because she was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. It's harder for her to get back into the workforce. How should she protect herself? The woman in the scenario should have definitely been honest about it, but the money combo should have been discussed prior to her staying home. Yeah, absolutely. I think if you do um premarital counseling, that hopefully that's something that the counselor talks about. And I would say that I've done premarital counseling and I did it through the church. If I were to talk to young people or people our age now who are trying to get married, if you are in the church, if you're religious, I definitely feel like you should do premarital counseling through the church, right? But
Mhm.
I also feel as if you should also do it with a licensed therapist as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I would say do it with the licensed therapist first, because they're probably going to hit upon some topics that probably be a little bit more beneficial for you all. But definitely if y'all are both of the same, equally yoked in the same religion, then yeah, definitely do that as well. Because I know when I did premarital counseling, we did it through the church, and there's some tenets, some teachings that the church has that my ex-wife was like, I wasn't really comfortable with that. I wasn't really comfortable with that, that discussion that we had. And I wasn't old enough or mature enough to be like, well, why? And to really, address it for her. So,
I
but
think I think it depends on the pastor. Um, yes and no. I've never been married, but I was on my way at one point in time. So I did go through marital counseling,
Mhm.
and I actually I liked how my pastor took us through, his lessons and his, teachings and advice and homework that we had to do. I thought it was very beneficial. It
Mhm.
made that was probably a big reason of why we did not get married. So it was good for me. I
And it
agree.
served its purpose.
Yeah, yeah. It
Then
definitely
it served its purpose. Let's see. TJ said, you said that with your chest, Marv. Now that I'm newly 47. That's right. Pisces. I knew somebody, she went to a small church and I think they did the premarital counseling. And this is low key shady. Tell me if it's shady on the pastor's part or not. Pastor knew her since she was a little girl. She had this dude, and pastor was like, "Nah, baby, this ain't for you." But he couldn't say it right because she was in love. So they had a wedding, full blown wedding thing, and the pastor never mailed in the marriage certificate. So a few months later, when it didn't work out and they split up, and she was like, Pastor, I got to get a divorce. And he was like, Oh, don't worry about that. I knew it wasn't going to work. I never mailed the marriage certificate in. So basically, they got married, had a full blown marriage, and
right.
basically they just broke up. They just he moved out, she moved on, and that was it. Fair or foul.
Oh my gosh.
That's this is a true story.
Right. Because of the ending, I want to say fair. Because I mean, I my pastor has known me since I was a little girl too. So if he felt something like that, I might listen to him, you know. I cuz I I tend to listen to older people anyway. I think older people have a wisdom that we don't have yet because we haven't reached that age. So I want to say fair.
I'm gonna say foul
Mhm.
because there's a reason why gay people are fighting to be married, to be able to be married. There's a
Mhm.
lot of protection that comes from being married. That's why, they always say, don't be just somebody's special friend for 30 or 40 years because, when they die, you don't have any rights to their assets or anything like that. So
Right.
it is definitely foul, but I understand why he did it.
Right, right.
Foul, but I understand why he did it. Because what happened if he walked across the street, got hit by a bus? Here she is thinking like, "Oh, I'm Mrs. So and so," and then like, "Nah, baby, you not," because Pastor decided to take it upon himself not to mail in a marriage certificate.
Yeah, I can see that.
Man, yeah, yeah. Let's see. They said Janine said foul, but gangster fair. Yeah, like I said, I understand, but let's see. Darius said, I agree with Marv 100%. Spiritual advisor to counsel as well as a licensed therapist. And that story is foul because the pastor was deceptive and not sending the license in. You're right.
Yeah.
And Sandy said, foul, they were dumb. How did they not get their license? Well, we in Texas, so sometimes the pastor has to send it in. And if I'm honest, Sandy, the guy wasn't that smart. So, a person like me, I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, what's up with the marriage certificate? Because I like to be organized and have everything filed away. So I would have asked those questions, but maybe that's part of the reason why he didn't mail it in. He didn't want her taking on, that lack of intelligence. But speaking of taking on, Tay,
Yeah.
you gotta be careful who you with because you start to take on. You ever heard somebody say, let me put it this way. You ever heard somebody say people get married and they start taking on each other's personality?
Mhm. Well, looking alike.
Yeah, or looking like they always say that with like light skinned motherfuckers. Like you ever been with somebody like super light bright like you, Tay, and everybody say y'all look alike?
I have been with someone who was my complexion, but nobody ever said we looked alike.
I'm surprised you let me get away with that one.
It's my light. I'm turning.
Oh, it's the light. Yeah. Nah, I've definitely seen people take on each other's personalities. And oftentimes I see it, the woman takes on the man's personality.
Mhm.
So like if he's aggressive or what have you, she'll kind of, get a little bit more rowdy or what have you, or say he likes a particular sports team, she'll take on that sports team. Um, but is that a bad thing if you are becoming closer to your partner and you start to take on their personality, are you losing your identity by doing that? And is that, if you are losing somewhat of your identity, is it a bad thing?
I think it is a bad thing if you are losing your whole self. Like if your whole personality is changing and you're mirroring this person, like all of them. I think in that case it's a bad thing. But if it's just little small things here and there, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. If we're going to go the religious route, we're supposed to be becoming one. So somebody's strengths should be able to help somebody's weaknesses. In that respect, if you're using it that way, it can be a good thing. So I think it depends on how it's being done, if you get what I'm saying.
I do. And I think that it drives home the importance of being with the right person.
Hmm.
As like I said, I often seen when women take on the male's personality. I've seen it happen in other situations too, when it ended up, being destructive. And
Right.
he was, alcoholic or a drug addict, and the next thing you know, she's strung out as well. And if that person isn't necessarily the best person, say that, maybe they are, how people like get into cults or what
Hmm.
have you. And then like you have, I got cousin so and so, and she used to be bubbly, she used to be this. Now she's talking this old spaced out shit, and now we don't ever see her because she's in this new church, and they don't want to be around anybody. They're isolating because a lot of times abusers and people who are manipulators, the first thing they do is they isolate you from your family. They
Right.
isolate you from anybody who can talk sense into you.
Hmm.
So I would say that right there is the danger, and taking on the personality of the person that you're with.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Like I said, I can see it from both sides, and I think it depends on how it's done. If you're losing yourself, it's never a good thing to lose yourself within a relationship. You have to have you. I mean, that the person should have fallen in love with you. So why are you now becoming them? That part can be a little crazy.
Yeah, and I think honestly, you can be compatible with somebody who's not 100% like you.
Hmm.
It's good if y'all have things that y'all like to do together that you can have fun. Um, I can't say that I've necessarily had that with a woman, and I think that that is a level of compatibility, a level of, what's what I'm looking for, not being sensual. Uh, damn, I can't think of the
Intimacy.
word. Huh?
Intimacy.
Intimacy. There you go. That's why I got you. That's a level of intimacy that I think would be dope to have, because I think that's when you transcend just being lovers into really like truly being friends. Like I've
Hmm.
had like we enjoyed the same TV show, and so I've encountered or experienced that type of intimacy where it's like, hey, hurry up so we can turn on the show and have different like routines that we used to do. One of my favorite routines when I was married was on Sundays. We would always watch whatever TV show was out at that time. So whether it was The Walking Dead or Power or Game of Thrones, it was like something that we would always cook, and then when by the time the show would come on, we would eat dinner together, and then snuggle whatever, and that was our time weekly. So I appreciated that, but if I could, like, I'm not a big fisherman, but if I like to fish and my lady wanted to come fishing with me and she was not being annoying, that would probably be really cool.
Yeah, I am one who tends to mirror people I'm around. It's not just in relationships. Like if I have, normally I'm a really quiet person, but if do have a couple friends that are really boisterous, really outgoing, if I'm around them, you might get a different take.
Okay.
So, but it doesn't change me complete. So I've done that, and I said that to say I have done that in relationships, but it hasn't changed me at my core. If you get what I'm saying.
I get it. I get it. I get it. Sandy says, what does Sandy say? Y'all know I'm deep in the church, but skip church counseling. Go to a professional. I feel you. I feel you. Because I think a lot of times people who are doing premarital counseling with the church, they're not really trained. They're not therapists. You know,
Right.
that's a big knock on Iyanla Van Sant. I love Iyanla Van Sant. Love her. She's on Mary J. Blige level with me. Don't say shit bad about Iyanla Van Sant. But I do recognize how a lot of people think she's problematic because she's not licensed, right? And some of the stuff she does, can push the limits. But I also think that we have been indoctrinated into like westernized thinking as well. And sometimes we like skip over some of those things that, the church or, an elder can do for us. But that's just me with my tinfoil kufi on. Let's see. Janine said, I agree with Tay. Just don't lose your whole self. Very smart. Let's see. Janine said he liked me for my individual self. I want to remain for the most part what he was attracted to originally. We'll come back to that. TJ said intimacy is so underrated. That's right. Danielle agrees with that. And then Janine said, me too, renewing my license this month for Missouri. They're talking about fishing. They love to fish.
Hmm.
TJ said, in my brain, I heard the music Soul Child saying, even when she gets on my last nerve. You know, when I was married, when you mind, whether I'm angry or not. And I remember, you know, me and my ex-wife, we was having a hard time, and she called me and she was like, the car broke down. I'm here. And I'm just like, send me a location. And I get up, drive, change the tire, make sure she's safe. And the whole time we sitting there not speaking to one another, right? I'm not speaking. We just handling business. Then when it's done, we going about our thing. But when you mind, you mind. I don't care if we not on the best of terms. And I think that's what a relationship should be. That's the type of base you should have for your relationship.
That's what it should be.
Well, it should be. So, what happens, Tay, when you with somebody and they start changing? Because we change as people.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
say y'all meet when y'all in y'all's late 20s, and y'all, you have sex a certain way. Your interest when it comes to sex is a certain way, and then all of a sudden, you know, your man says, "I want a threesome," or your woman comes to you and says, I want to experience a woman, or I want to add another man to the mix. Is it, do you think it's wise to do that? Or how you start should be how you should finish?
Well, I think you brought up two different things there. Changing is one thing, adding other people to the relationship.
Well, it to me is all tied together because it's like changing your perspective on sex and what you want to experiment with.
Okay. Okay. Taking that as one of the things that can change. I think um
It is
everybody
it is conversation after dark taste, so I gotta
right,
throw
right.
this
No, I
stuff.
get it. No, I get it. I'm just saying that doesn't necessarily have
I
to
feel you though, yeah, because you can just change as a person. Absolutely, I
be.
get it.
You know, I follow a lot of therapists, sex therapists, relationship, marriage, and family therapists, and a lot of people. For some reason, a lot of married people have been writing marriage books lately, and they want to talk about them. But I bring that up to say, for the most part, everybody has been talking about that, and I know this just from being a person anyway. You will change as you grow, you get older, your interests change, your likes change. You know what you did. When I was little, I didn't like peaches. Now I love peaches. Different things like that change. What it all boils down to, what I hear them saying is communication. At everything, you need to communicate with your partner. You may have to go to therapy to work out the changes that are coming. But it all boils down to communication, which
Yeah,
is most things.
yeah. Sandy says, always be honest, but truly be ready for their response and answer. A
Yeah.
threesome will absolutely change the relationship.
Yes.
I'm gonna say this, and Tay and I have been pretty open about our opinion on monogamy and non-monogamy. And I would say for me, I always want honesty. And that's why I said lies of omission are a big no when it comes to me. I want you to be honest with me and leave it up to me to determine how much honesty I want. And what I mean by that is I'm wise enough now that I'm 47, but been like this for a few years. I'm wise enough to know what honesty I can handle. So I'm not going to ask if we're not being 100% monogamous and we both agree to that. I'm not going to ask, is his dick bigger than mine? I'm not going to ask, who does it better or what did he do or whatever. Some people may get off on that type of stuff. I know there's people who do, but me personally, I don't need to know all that. But allow me to be able to determine how much honesty I want to get from you. Now, if I ask you a question and like Sandy said, be prepared for the response. If I ask you a question and your response stings a little, I can't be mad at you.
Mhm.
Because number one, if I get mad at you, what's going to happen is you're not going to want to be honest with me, right? And then number two, you did what I asked you to do. So I need to go work out whatever's going on with me because you could be non-monogamous, whatever, and still get jealous. So whatever jealousy, sparks or whatever feelings that I have, I need to go figure that out. That's my responsibility to go do, and to try to address. But did we answer the question, Tay? Is it cool to introduce other people, later on in the marriage or relationship?
So that your real question that you
That's a
wanted?
question. Yeah, that was a question.
Because you started, that's why I say you had two different questions because you started off with changing. I
Well,
mean,
I mean, okay, so put it like this: if that is changing though, Tay. So if
no,
you
no,
come in
I
and
get
y'all
it.
just straight laced, y'all vanilla, and then next thing you know, hey, I want to go to swingers club, I want to do this, that, and the other. That's changing.
I get it. I get it. I get it. But I'm just saying that must be your real question.
Yeah, that's a real question.
Okay. Uh I think after being with somebody for years, you should know your partner. So you should know whether that's something that they would accept or not. But if you don't, and if it's something that you really, really, really want to do, maybe you should bring it up. But again, like you just said, be prepared for the answer for the response because some people might say, let's try it. Whether it'll be a good thing or not, I don't know. Some people might say, hell no, and I want a divorce for you even thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? You never know what the
Risk
response.
involved, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if you bring up something like that, like adding another person, experimenting with other people, you definitely have to be ready for the response.
All right, we're gonna try something new today.
Okay.
In the chat, we normally have a nasty or normal, or
Hmm.
would you or would you not? So before we wrap up the show, we need one of y'all to give us a nasty or normal, or would you not? So we're about to wrap it up, so make sure y'all come up with something good. TJ said, I was previously in a poly relationship. They were married and it was part of their marital agreement. Some shit you have to be upfront with.
Hmm.
Yeah, you definitely need to be upfront. I,
Yep.
I know some people say, and they may not necessarily embrace the term poly or non-monogamous, but I know some women, primarily women, because women can handle it better than dudes, who would say, you know what, go ahead and go be with her, blow off your steam because honestly, I don't feel like being bothered with your ass. You know what I mean? And because of that, the side piece becomes a valuable asset in the relationship. You ever seen that before? Or
I've
heard of
heard
that before?
it happening. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but I've heard of it happening. Let me go back to when we were talking about getting into your things your partner does. So there are two movies that I've seen that I'm like, dang, whoever wrote this looked into my life. They wrote this movie for me. This is me. So one of them was Runaway Bride. I've often talked about me being relationship phobic or whatever, commitment phobic. But not relationship phobic. I get into relationships. The full commitment. Okay. But anyway, so in this movie, Runaway Bride, Julia Roberts plays a woman who's been in monogamous relationships, but she tends to run away from them when it gets to the wedding. But what's significant for me in this movie, outside of that, was that with every guy, she would take on their personality or their interests more so. So like there was a scene where she didn't even know what kind of eggs she liked because whatever the guy who she was dating, whatever their favorite way to eat eggs was became her favorite. But
Mm,
like one guy she dated, he was into baseball. So baseball became her favorite thing. Another guy, they were supposed to get tattoos together. Hers wound up being fake, but but she, they so I say that to say, like, I am that type of person who, like, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I get into whatever they're into. Um, and I'm just a naturally curious person. I love to learn new things, so I like dating guys who can teach me new things. So, like, I know one guy I dated, he was into house repairs, and so I learned how to do drywall and lay tile and paint and all that stuff. That was
okay.
one. Another guy who was really into video games. I was a gamer as a kid, so that didn't bother me. So I got into that. So I'm just wondering, so do you think it's cool to get involved in your partner's interests, or should that be their alone time and y'all had just have y'all separate interests and come together,
I think that there's as with everything, there's a balance
Hmm.
that needs to be had. Um, we talked about that intimacy, and I think doing things like you mentioned in terms of uh, doing house repairs together, gaming together. That right there, I think there's nothing wrong with that. Again, that's like spending quality time with one another. Um, that's cool. But those are things that could last. We often talk about ED and what's it called, menopause, and when the sex ain't really hitting like it's supposed to hit no more. Those are things
Hmm.
you could do to keep the intimacy going, right?
Right.
I still think that there are things that should be kept to the individual. Um,
Hmm.
there's certain things that my woman's gonna like to do that I'm just not gonna want to do, and I'm gonna let her do it. I'm not a big shopper, and if she likes to shop, hey, go with your girls and go shop. Definitely go and have. We still need to have our alone time. At least I do. I have three brothers, but I grew up basically an only child because there's a big age difference between us. So I really, really value my alone time. And I think that you know, so to answer your question, I think it's cool, but you definitely have to have a balance. And I think there's some things that should remain, just for that person and them and their friends or whatever. But if you like to hunt and every single weekend you gone to the ranch and you hunting with the fellas every single weekend and you not spending any you value any quiet time or any type of long time with your lady because every weekend you gone hunting, that's when it becomes problematic. So it needs to be a balance.
Hmm. Okay.
It needs to be a balance. All right, so I think we got one, Tay.
Okay.
So TJ, this comes from TJ. She says she's big on hygiene. This is for the women, but I'm gonna answer for the fellas too. Would you get with a man whose hygiene game was suspect? His balls smell like Famunda cheese. Would you get with a guy whose hygiene game was suspect type?
No. And I've been in that situation before, so I can definitely say no. And I didn't realize his hygiene situation. So when I was working a regular job, I would save all of my leave to the end of the year. So I pretty much had from Thanksgiving till the new year, I pretty much had that whole time off. So this one year I did that. I spent it pretty much at his house almost every day. He worked from home. So after a couple of days, I noticed he
He got,
would just get up and go to the office. Like there was no brushing the teeth. There was no, well, he would brush his teeth. He would
wow.
brush his teeth. Let me take that back. But he wouldn't like hop in the shower. He would just get up and go downstairs. What? Like, no, I can't. I
Nah.
can't do that.
Did you call
Even
him
if
out
you're
on it?
working from home. Like, come on now.
Did you call him out on it?
Yes, I did. And he got offended. He got mad. But I'm like, And so so after that, every day he started he got in the shower. But why should I have to tell you that? He's a you a grown man with children. Why should I have to tell you that you need to shower when you get up?
You know, there's some people just don't like to bathe. And I mean, I got some family members that they don't like to bathe. And you got to remind them, like, hey, man, like, how can- I met this, I was dating this girl. I don't think she listened to the show, but we were talking and she was talking about a situation that happened with her friend. Um, I won't get the details just in case she does listen. But, there's a situation where her friend's hygiene was questioned. But she was like, it was unfair because it just happened to be a certain situation. And she was like, because like when I was her roommate, she used to bathe every day, and we was bathing like 3 to 4 times a week. And we laid up at the time. I looked at her, I'm like, huh? What you mean you bathe 3 or 4 times a week? You don't bathe every day? She was like, no. I was like, oh no. And then I started noticing when we hang out, I would have to kind of give like subtle hints like, yeah, I'm about to hop in the shower.
Mhm.
You want to go first or you know what I'm saying? And then she'd be like, oh yeah, okay, okay. I had to throw them little hints, so I was like, ugh. And it's especially nasty with dudes though shower because like we be farting and shit and crazy. Maybe a woman could get going with a day or two without a shower, but the dude you need to wash your ass, dog. You need to wash your ass, bro. You need to wash your ass. Let's see what they got to say in the chat. So Sandy said, Marv, would you have a threesome with your girl if she wanted a clear woman? If she wanted as her new or different thing was a clear woman? Sandy, I'm gonna be on my Dr. Umar. I'm probably gonna do it with her, then break up with her ass.
See.
Chad said depends on the interest. Some things, sometimes a long time is needed to reset. Absolutely right, my brother. Let's see. Danielle said I would definitely need a woman cave, but do require quality time moments. Hey, I agree with you. I agree with you. And everybody else talks about how suspect it is for somebody not to bathe. Chad said, did she sweat? Um, Man, bro, sex was phenomenal, man. And I never smelt any crazy odors while we were doing it, but it just didn't sit right with me that she didn't want to bathe. Like we've been doing it all night, and then you like you just go get up and go to brunch in the morning, and the only thing you gotta do is brush your teeth. That ain't gonna work, baby. Because eventually that's gonna catch up. I gotta think that eventually that's gonna affect that pH balance. You know what I mean? And I'm big on my ladies having good pH balances. So but anyway, Tay, tell them where they can find us.
You can find us at Conversate After Dark everywhere. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or you have a topic you want us to cover, you can reach us at CVAD, the podcast at gmail.com. Make sure you like this video, share it, subscribe, and leave us a comment.
That's right. Go to our website, www.conversateafterdark.com. Check out the past episodes. We'll have you next time. Peace.
Bye.